before we begin, I had a question. How many of you know the bird magpies? I've got a picture for you, a few of us. Okay, magpies are not native to Alabama. They're more predominant out west, but they are fascinating birds. In fact, they are known as the genius bird of the animal kingdom because they are so intelligent. You see, magpies are one of the very few animals that can see its reflection in a mirror and know that it's them. Most animals will sit in front of a mirror and think that another animal is looking back, but a magpie goes, "Hey there," and knows it's them, right? But the magpies also are incredible problem solvers. In fact, scientists says their cognitive abilities are very much like a young child. I was watching a study, and the scientist got this long tube, about this long. And inside of it, he put this tiny piece of food in the middle of it and put a blocker here and a blocker here inside the tube to block the scent of the food. And then he opened the door and he let the magpie come in, and immediately the magpie saw the food, looked around, grabbed a stick, and put it through the tube to push out the food. Within seconds, ate it, and was like, "Now what?" It was absolutely fascinating. And I realized that magpies don't just react, they think. So I researched different cultures with magpies, and it turns out that they're highly respected. And one of the things, if you would go to Europe a couple hundred years ago, back then when you wore the top hats, that whenever you would see a magpie, it was customary or tradition to tip your hat and say, "Good morning, Mr. Magpie, how's your wife today?" Out of a sign of respect. Magpies have many purposes that God gave it. The first one is they're master architects. That they use whatever God has given them and they do the hard work. Whenever they build a nest, it takes about a month to put together. It comes fully equipped with a roof and multiple entrances so that it's perfectly protected for them. And whenever they leave, other guests, such as the owl, checks in to enjoy the house in its absence. And they're also known as the cleanup crew. So magpies actually eat mites and bugs and parasites and dead animals, and it's not uncommon to see a magpie on a large animal. Have you ever seen a bird on a big hippo or elk or buffalo? That's the magpie. And finally, the magpie is very bold and courageous. They're very loud. If you've ever met a magpie, it kind of sounds like a lawnmower starting. It's that loud, so they definitely leave an impression. So what's the takeaway? You see, I believe what the magpies are teaching us this morning is that many times God presents us with doorways and opportunities, but they're many times disguised as hard work and obstacles. And many times people don't realize that that's a doorway, but the magpie does. And people that do see the doorways that God puts in front of you, those people sometimes don't step through it because they feel like they don't have what they need to walk through it. But the magpie knows that they have everything that they need. You see, whenever God calls the magpie to build its house, the magpie doesn't say, "I must wait until everything is in perfect condition, no rain, and I need all the supplies here." But instead, the magpie simply uses what's in front of it to build the house. And God provides everything that the magpie needs. Or when the magpie sees the big buffalo, it's got to overcome its fear. And once it lands on the buffalo, it realizes that it uses the intelligence that God gave it. You see, the question this morning, church, is not, is God preparing us, but instead, are we going to be like the magpie and trust God as we walk through the doorway? And when you do, God's already given you everything that you need, and the reward will be worth it. Amen?